Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. It's time to gear up for week 3 of the college football season, and as always, we are bringing you the biggest games of the week. And it should be a very exciting week as we have 3 top 25 matchups and the potential to see a lot of revenge games. Before we begin, I want to address one thing. We are keeping the victims of Hurricane Florence in our thoughts and prayers. I know that's going to start hitting the East Coast here very soon, or has already hit the East Coast. Many college football games have been canceled, such as North Carolina State, South Carolina. Their games have all been canceled over on the East Coast. Some games have been moved. We want to keep everybody in our prayers. People have had to evacuate or are going to still be staying in their respective states and at their homes while this hurricane hits. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers. It's more than just football. There's a lot more that goes into it like that, so we want to make sure that we keep them in their prayers. We've seen this before with other hurricanes and other natural disasters, so just keep them in the back of your mind as we watch college football this weekend. So one new thing that we have up here on the board is the underline. That is basically who we are predicting to win these games. So in the past we haven't done this, so in case you can't really keep track as we're talking, the games that are underlined, or the teams that are underlined, are the teams that we think are going to win. And we'll kick things off with number 5, Oklahoma at Iowa State. And this is another chance for a revenge game, because if you remember last year, Iowa State pulled off probably what was one of the biggest upsets of the season, going on the road and defeating Oklahoma. That was, I don't think anybody really saw that coming. That was really what kind of put Iowa State back on the map and started, kind of their trend and their success for last year's season. This year, though, I don't see them getting another win over the Sooners. They only mustered 3 points last week against Iowa. I know they only lost that game 13-3. It was a very defensive battle, but really only 3 points, no touchdowns. And I know their first game got canceled, so that was their first game going to go against their rival on the road. This is going to be a very electric atmosphere, though. Iowa State's not an easy place to play by any means. So Oklahoma is, of course, going to have to bring their A game. It's an early game. It's an 11 o'clock game. But Kyler Murray is playing on a completely different level right now. He has really surprised me kind of right out of the gate. I know they haven't played many tough opponents either, just Florida Atlantic and UCLA. This is probably the biggest test, I think, to start off the season for Oklahoma. But I think the Sooners are going to be able to go on the road and get a key win to start off Big 12 play. I just don't see Iowa State Lightning striking twice in this one. But it would not surprise me to see this game stay close, especially because it is on the road. Our second game, number 12 LSU at number 7 Auburn. This one is huge. I'm actually kind of surprised that College Game Day did not go down to Auburn for this game, but I know last week they went to an SEC team, so probably can't do that back-to-back. But this game really could determine who finishes second in the SEC West. I mean, you've got some legitimate competitors in the SEC West. Besides really Ole Miss and Arkansas, you've got Alabama, LSU, Auburn, and Mississippi State. Maybe you could throw in Texas A&M in there for sure, because they haven't really played any conference games yet. But this game is going to be huge, and I'm giving the edge to Auburn mostly because it is at home. And when you stack these teams up on paper, you can write down who you think has the edge at which position. I think Auburn owns the edge at the quarterback position, Jarrett Stidham over Joe Burrow, just because of experience. But I do believe that LSU owns the edge on defense. They by far, I think, one of the better defenses in the entire nation. And I really think they're going to give Auburn a really big fight here. If you remember last year, though, Auburn went on the road to Baton Rouge, lost to LSU. That was a crushing blow to that Auburn team. Still almost had a chance to make the college football playoff and win the SEC championship game. But still, that was a tough blow for the Auburn Tigers. And I think they're going to be able to get their revenge back at their house over LSU in this one. So I'm very excited to see how this one turns out. That's the 2:30 SEC CBS game, so make sure you keep your eye on this one. Giving the edge to Auburn, though, and I'm going to give them the edge because of experience on the offensive side of the ball. But in the end, I think it's going to be a very exciting game. Should come down to the wire. I disagree with Auburn being favored by 10 or the 10.5. I think that's a little too high right there because I think it's going to be a very, very close game. Number 17, Boise State at number 24, Oklahoma State. This is one of those sneaky good, under-the-radar games, even though it is a top 25 matchup. I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to this game, but this one has the potential to be very exciting. Two very high-octane offenses, very offensive minds. You got Brian Harsin with Boise State. You got Mike Gundy with Oklahoma State, and both of these guys' defenses have been very strong this year. Boise State, I think, only allowing 13.5 points per game. Oklahoma State just allowing 15 points per game. So something's got to give in this game. Either it's going to be a lot more low scoring than we're expecting, or you're going to have a shootout, which is what I'm personally hoping for. And I really do think that's what's going to happen. Both these teams have very, very dangerous offenses. Despite Oklahoma State losing some key starters like Mason Rudolph and James Washington, I still think they're going to be able to put up some solid points. Taylor Cornelius and Justice Hill at running back really kind of filling that gap and doing well for them. I'm giving the edge to Oklahoma State, and that is primarily going to be because of home field advantage. I really think these two teams are extremely even talent-wise, and I think the home field is really going to give the Cowboys a big boost over here against Boise State. Now, if Boise State were to win this game, because it is extremely possible that they do, they are a very dangerous team. I truly believe that Boise State could run the table and finish the season undefeated with a Mountain West championship. And then you have to question, could they potentially slip into the college football playoff? It's just week 3, and they're number 17 in the country right now. If they run the table and go undefeated, we've seen them in recent years back during the BCS era getting up to number 4, number 3 in the country. Could it be possible that they slip in there? And what a way to build that resume with a win on the road against a ranked Big 12 opponent, a ranked Power 5 opponent. This is a sneaky good game and a big game, more so for Boise State than Oklahoma State, but I'm very excited to check this one out. Number 22, USC at Texas, a game that I really think is big for both these teams. Two teams that I think have been very unimpressive over the course of this season. I know USC is still ranked, but they opened up the season against UNLV where they struggled for the majority of the game. I know they won by 22, but they let the Rebels hang around there a little too long in my opinion. And then they went on the road, played Stanford last week, and only lost 17-3, but keep in mind, they didn't score a touchdown. They only scored 3 points, couldn't get any offense going. Texas, on the other hand, goes on the road, loses to Maryland for the second time in a row, and then they come back home and only beat Tulsa by 7. And that game was fairly close up until the end. I know some people will say the score was closer than it really was, but it still only beating Tulsa by 7 is not very impressive. So yes, I am picking Texas in this one. I think a lot of people will criticize me for that because they continue to say that Texas is overrated. Maybe they are. Maybe they aren't living up to the hype that I thought they were going to, or many other analysts thought they were going to. We expected a lot more out of Tom Herman, but it's still an early season. It's only week 3. We're about a quarter of the way through, so we still got a lot of time in this young season. And I think Texas, with the home field advantage and with revenge on their mind, as I mentioned before, losing in double overtime to USC last year on the road. These two teams don't meet very often, but it is a pretty great rivalry when they do. The 2005 Rose Bowl National Championship game just last year, losing in double overtime for the Longhorns. That was a thriller out in California. I think Texas gets their revenge at home in what should be another close game against the Trojans. This is going to be a very exciting one. Like I said, always exciting when these two teams meet up. And then probably, I guess, according to College Game Day, the biggest game of the week, number 4 Ohio State and number 15 TCU. This is going to be a very intriguing game as well. Ohio State, though, coming out as, I believe, 13-point favorites to kick off this game. And obviously that could change for Saturday for kickoff, but still, a lot of people are criticizing that, don't believe that Ohio State can win this game by 2 touchdowns, and they're right in the fact that this is Ohio State's biggest test so far this season. I know they have Ryan Day coming in as interim head coach. It's going to be the last game they have to play before Urban Meyer can come back. He's eligible to come back in week 4, so that's going to be huge for the Buckeyes. In the end, though, I think Ohio State's just more battle-ready. I think they're more battle-tested for this game than TCU is. I know Ohio State hasn't played anybody too tough, but they've played 2 Power 5 opponents in Oregon State and Rutgers. So that's 2 solid Power 5 opponents right now. Now they're not powerhouses, but they still have played more so than TCU, who I believe played Southern and SMU. So, yes, TCU is a very talented team. Gary Patterson's going to have his team geared up for this game. I think they're going to have a better crowd at AT&T Stadium than Ohio State will. That's no doubt in my mind for that. But in the end, I think Ohio State is just going to be too much. Some of the analysts out there are saying that Ohio State could potentially be or is the best team in the nation. They're just not getting as much attention as they deserve. They're still number 4, though. But they're saying that they might be even better than Alabama or Clemson or somebody like that. I'm not going that far yet, but I do believe Ohio State is. They do deserve to be ranked number 4, probably one of the best 4 teams in the country right now. I do think they beat TCU. I don't know if they beat them by 14, but I don't expect this game to be extremely close. I don't see it being a field goal game coming down to the wire. I think Ohio State pulls away in the end and gets a solid win over a good TCU team that's still going to be a challenge in the Big 12. Then our last big game, number 10, Washington at Utah. The past 2 years, these games have been extremely exciting. 2 years ago, College Game Day came to Utah. That was the year Washington made the college football playoff, and I believe won that game 31-24, at least won that game by a touchdown. So that was a huge win for the Huskies last year. Utah allowing Washington to score 10 points, I believe, in a little under 2 minutes and win that game over the Utes, and that game being at Washington. So this game huge for the Pac-12 standings. Utah trying to get to their first Pac-12 championship game ever. So that's going to be huge for them. Washington still trying to rebound after the Auburn loss. Still, really, if they want to make the college football playoff, they're probably going to have to run the table for the entire course of the season. Auburn, not a bad loss at all. If they had won it, it would have been a lot better, obviously. But still, it's not going to crushing blow. It wasn't a conference game. Auburn's ranked number 7 in the country, so they're not losing to a bad opponent. But if they lose one more game for Washington, that's a 2-loss team. You have to kind of wonder if the playoff committee would put them in, even if they were a one conference loss, and still conference champion. So that's something we got to keep in mind. But this is going to be a very intriguing game. Utah and Washington both have a great, solid 1-2 punch. Jake Browning, Myles Gaskin for Washington, and you got Tyler Huntley and Zach Moss for Utah. Utah, a very solid defense, I believe, holding their teams to about 8 points per game. But keep in mind they haven't played anybody tough, and just last week only beat Northern Illinois on the road 17-6. So Utah still struggling a little bit. They struggled in their season opener. I think it was against North Dakota. Still struggled against them for a little bit and then pulled away and won 41-10. I'm giving the edge to Washington here. I'm giving the edge to them because of experience, because I like Ohio State, more battle ready, having already faced a very solid Auburn team that they nearly beat. Utah still, this is their biggest game of the year to date right now. Still have more games to come, but I'm giving the edge to the Huskies, even though it is on the road. But I do expect this one to be close, just like it has been the past 2 years. So make sure you keep your eye on this one. Major implications there. And then we have our first prediction change. This is the first one we've ever done, the Gridiron Expert. Really didn't see any others I need to change. I'm changing South Florida to beat Illinois. Back when we did our predictions, I had Illinois beating South Florida, but after watching both teams this season, Illinois very unimpressive wins against Kent State and Western Illinois. South Florida beating a kind of a cupcake team in week 1, but then beating Georgia Tech by 11 last week. If they can keep that kind of offense going, even though it is on the road for South Florida, I'm going to give them the win there. So just keep that in mind. If you're going through and looking at all the previous picks and all that, we have changed the pick that South Florida will defeat Illinois, and so that's our first prediction change. And of course, like I said, keep in mind everything that's going on with Hurricane Florence. Games like Central Florida, North Carolina, West Virginia, North Carolina State, a game I was personally looking forward to. The Marshall, South Carolina game, potentially Georgia Southern, Clemson. Those type of games have been canceled, or 3 of those games have been canceled. Clemson's still faltering a little bit, but make sure you keep everybody in your prayers as this hurricane works its way through the East Coast. And like I said, it's more than a game. We love football, we love that, but we got to keep our eyes open to the bigger picture out there, and that's our fellow fans and our family members and everybody like that. So make sure you keep them in your prayers. Enjoy week 3 of college football. These are our biggest games of week 3. 6 solid ones, 1 prediction change. Starting next week, so about a week from today, when we do these predictions, we will have our Heisman Watch. So make sure you get excited for that. That's going to be coming, I said, after week 3. And then coming Sunday or Monday, we will have our week 3 recap, recapping the week that was, and also showing our teams trending up and trending down. So make sure you keep your eye on that. Thank you for watching. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on the Gridiron Expert.